Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news. This is Bloomberg Businessweek Daily, reporting from the magazine that helps global leaders stay ahead, with insight on the people, companies, and trends shaping today's complex economy, plus global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. The Bloomberg Businessweek Daily podcast with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
I've never really had faith in myself that I could stay sober.
A lot of people in my life had given up hope on me and didn't think I was going to make it.
You don't know what your life's going to be like in a year if you choose recovery, if you take the suggestions. You could be living this big, beautiful life.
It's been so life-changing, and it's the best decision I ever made.
You're hearing there from people featured in a short film called No More Secrets, a short film that's going to debut tomorrow that focuses on addiction and recovery. We're going to talk about that here with Jana Wu. She's a senior clinician at Mountainside, a treatment center. Dr. Manassa Hany is with us as well, director of addiction psychology at Northwell. He's a psychiatrist. And Jana, let me start with you and kind of the driving thrust of this short film, which centers on two individuals, one named Peter, one named Rachel. And they're talking, yes, about addiction, but about the process by which they sought help and went into recovery. And I wonder if you could talk a bit about that, the forcing mechanism, the way by which people decide it's something that they need to do, that they have to seek out recovery.
Oh, thank you, David. Well, I think for most people, it's not a choice. Usually life gets to a point where it is so uncomfortable and unbearable for not just them, but their family, community, productivity at work, that they have got to make a change. And the only way is in the other direction. And we really wanted to explore two different family relationships and two different individuals that made that change, that decided that they had to do something differently. And that meant asking for help, being more public about their struggle. We all struggle with something, but addiction is something that is still riddled with shame and tremendous amount of stigma, both from the community and often internally in the family system. So we wanted to take this opportunity to really share with people openly what we saw as a call for action to end the stigma around addiction. So making this film and collaborating with Shatterproof was a natural segue, their call to action, in that they focus completely on breaking the stigma of addiction nationwide. So that's sort of how this came to be.
I want to stick with you, Jana. I did get a chance to look at the short film, to take a look, and I thought that it was very, very emotional. I felt like it was tear-jerking and all of the sort. But what I did notice from it was the importance of community. Can you just speak a bit more about the purpose and the importance of community for those that are recovering from addiction?
Yes, I'm glad you saw that. I think it's absolutely essential. Actually, evidence-based practice finds that group therapy is far more effective than individual therapy for substance use disorders. We know other things are also very important, like Medicaid-assisted treatment. But going back to the question of community, it's actually related. Having a community that understands and supports you, and again, doesn't judge you. With addiction, unfortunately, the behaviors that come with it are typically pretty reprehensible and really affect relationships. And it's very difficult when you love someone to separate that person from those behaviors. So having a community that's not going to judge you, where you can share some things that you've done that you might not understand, with maybe an appropriate clinical guide in this process or a peer support recovery coach, and a community, it heals people in ways I can't see anything else. That community and ability to say what I've done, where I'm struggling, and have other people hear, respect you, understand, and help you process that is invaluable.
Dr. Hany, like watching this film, you hear from these two individuals, you hear from members of their family as well. So in the case of Peter, you hear from his wife who wrote him a letter at some point. You hear from Rachel's father who was worried about her. And there's kind of a through line between both of them that they were each wrestling with the fact that they thought that this story might end with the death of their spouse or their child. What is your counsel to family members who are seeing somebody in their families, a spouse, a child, going through this and want something catalytic to happen by which they could seek help?
Well, it is really a challenging disease in that sense, that it not only affects people's lives, but also affects their significant others as well, affects their kids, affects their significant others, family members, and others. Now, the issue with the addiction as a disease it does affect people's behavior. It makes a bit of a change in their personality and their behavior that upsets the support system. And speaking of the support system that Nora was asking about, whenever we do an evaluation in a new patient, one of the most important predictive factor of their recovery is how big is your support system? Who is existing around in your sphere to provide support for you? Now, we come to the support system and we provide the advices, stay supportive, stay there for them. They're struggling, they're not doing that by choice. As we say, addiction is not a choice.
How challenging is that, not to interrupt, but I mean, how challenging is it to convey that message to family members?
It is not easy. It is not easy, and it's not a straightforward thing. Some days you're willing and happy to support your spouse or kid. Other days you're really tired. And we continue to provide that. Now, there are groups that we have specially for significant others. Also, if you hear about the Al-Anon, that's for the family and the kids of those who suffer from addictive disorders.
Well, addiction is very clearly a disease, as we've been pointing out in this conversation. Can you speak to the resources available from a medical standpoint in terms of treating this as a medical concern?
Well, we know about it way more than we did in the past. This is one. We know that the chemicals that are implicated in the mechanism of happening, how it affects, where does it affect the brain, what neurotransmitter that implicates. So we know how it works. It's a chronic brain disease. You can compare it to diabetes. You can compare it to hypertension and so forth. Now, it does also have medication that affects it and helps with it. We have so many medication. If you're going to talk about, let's say, opioid use disorder, we do have evidence that we have methadone that helps with it a lot. We have buprenorphine, which has been helping for ages, since the year 2003. We have naloxone or Narcan that can revive and get people from overdose. So we have the medical model. We know how it works. We know the process, and we know that it has some kind of management that can help people during recovery as well.
Just in the minute that we have left, this is a business, finance, economics show. A lot of folks who listen are on Wall Street, working on Wall Street. And I gather this is a community that has been historically at least resistant to talking with or confronting these issues.
Absolutely. I think there's a high cost to acknowledging that you need help, but we do see a lot of people that are in very high stress jobs. And this becomes an outlet, and it's very difficult then to ask for help. We also know, too, if they have a partner that's struggling, their own productivity is affected, and that can be very difficult, too. These aren't the types of things you might tell your colleague at work or other parents at the parent pickup, oh, my wife's drinking too much. These are things that are very painful to hold and can be very consuming. So I think, lastly, one important thing I wanted to put out there is we know that recovery is out there. There is hope. There's a lot of joy in life, but not just for the individual, but for the entire family system. We have a whole program at Mountainside, particularly just for family members that they don't have a substance use disorder diagnosis, but they love someone that does. And it's been essential to work with them from that lens of people that specialize in this, that see them and see the disease and want to be with them.
Well, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jana Wu, Senior Clinician at Mountainside. Dr. Manassa Hany joining us as well, Director of Addiction Psychology at Northwell, a practicing psychiatrist. And just noting again that the short film is called No More Secrets, and it's going to make its debut at Mountainside's New York City Center at 6 o'clock. It's about 10, 12 minutes long, and would catalyze a conversation like the one that we've had here, just surrounding the issue of addiction and recovery.
This is the Bloomberg Businessweek Daily Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Listen live weekday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg.com, the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn, and the Bloomberg Business app. You can also watch us live every weekday on YouTube and always on the Bloomberg Terminal.